If you're new to Formula One, you might keep up to date on social media, but that wasn't always the case. For some, the sport was considered an old man's sport. Social media was practically a taboo, and the entire sport had a different look to it, but all of that changed when Liberty Media took over. F1 has exploded in recent years, becoming one of the world's fastest growing sports. Stick around to find out how Liberty Media has saved F1 from, well, F1. For starters, F1 didn't begin posting footage from race broadcasts on its main YouTube account until 2014, which is far later than other major professional sports. Even in early 2017, F1's production was still somewhat average when compared to several other worldwide sports and rival motorsports series. The man in question is none other than Bernie Ecclestone. Let's start with some background information. Formula One is an old sport, operating since 1950. The first race was held at Silverstone in that year. However, in the 1970s, Bernie Ecclestone, an English businessman and the owner of the Brabham racing team, became the CEO of Formula One. Ecclestone held the post for over 50 years, guiding F1 through some of its most difficult times. Bernie operated the sport with a very conservative viewpoint when it came to the presentation of the sport. Because it did not adapt to the growth of the internet, the sport fell behind the times. But for better or worse, no one else had much of an effort on Formula One becoming the worldwide phenomenon it is today. That's where Liberty Media comes in. In 2016, the series received a much-needed change in ownership when Liberty Media, an American media corporation, acquired the sport for $4.4 billion. Of all the company's media outlets, the two that stand out the most are the Atlanta Braves and Sirius XM Radio. The racing series acquisition ruffled a few feathers, but that should come as no surprise, seeing how gated the sport really was. However, because Ecclestone was known for being strict in his view of what Formula One should be, his exit following Liberty Media's ownership of the sport ushered in a slew of changes in the sport, ranging from race broadcasting to pre-race spectacles to prize money distribution. To give you an idea of how awful it was, F1 appeared to be allergic to all forms of social media. In the past, it was extremely limited for teams and almost entirely blacklisted for drivers and media. Now, someone like Lewis Hamilton, who has a total of 40 million followers across all social media platforms, has the change to engage with those fans and get them pumped up about him, yes, but more importantly, about the sport. All teams and drivers have had their access to social media significantly broadened. In the past, it wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been abnormal for Bernie to write a letter, a message, or a legal letter to drivers at the time, telling them to remove that from their social media. You know, like when you do something embarrassing and your father gives you the death stare? He even banned Hamilton from using Snapchat in the paddock. But honestly, from his perspective at the time, that was exactly what the sport required. He was less concerned with the general public and more concerned with people eager to spend money on the sport. But now that I've given a picture of how bad things were, let's discuss the changes Liberty Media have put in place. Some of the most significant changes have occurred in the internet space, but first, let's tease you with some numbers. The F1 Series social media engagement increased by 99% year-on-year in 2020, reaching 810 million. With total followers up 36% to 35 million on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch, the series claims to be the fastest-growing major sports product. Isn't it crazy? However, all these figures are the result of several small but significant adjustments. Changes behind the scenes were among the first to happen. In 2018, Formula One agreed to work with Amazon's AWS division to gather and leverage the terabytes of data created during each race, as well as the massive archive of historical statistics and material. Some of the new visuals have been well received by fans, while others have been panned. The overtaking probability chart, for example, would determine how likely an overtake becomes as the race cars grow closer together. The pit stop advantage graphic was more popular since it let spectators better understand the result of the undercut. Fans disliked it because it took part of the excitement out of watching a battle, and there was criticism that it was rather random. Another significant shift was the visuals. F1's brand identity has stayed reasonably stable throughout the years, but it was also difficult to describe. Some might even call it simple and basic, but after Liberty Media took control from Ecclestone, it took less than a year for the series' new owners to unveil a complete makeover, which included a new logo, new TV visuals, new typefaces, a new audio stinger to introduce team radio clips, and even a fresh new specially produced theme song. And the part about the theme song was one that caused fans to bring out their pitchforks. Why, you might ask? Well, change is something people are not used to, so when fans were told that their favorite theme songs were going to be changed, you'd think they'd stole sweets from a kid. Returning to our previous discussion on social media embrace, since Ecclestone's departure, the company has grown tremendously. F1's YouTube account is just over 270,000 subscribers when Ecclestone left. It now has 7.6 million subscribers and is still growing. F1 has risen from 2.45 million Twitter followers to over 7.8 million in 5 years. Not to mention the rise in popularity of drivers owning to social media. The sport is now firmly embracing the potential that social media gives to engage with followers and became a part of their daily news feeds with official F1 profiles on Instagram and TikTok. In addition to F1 TV and Netflix's Drive to Survive are two important changes that cannot be overstated. It's ironic that all that matters is speed in F1, but it seems to be the slowest sport when it comes to 21st century tech. This is one of Liberty's main focuses, and with its strong ties, we might be in for a significant push in F1's digital realm. This brings us to the present. I can now readily locate race and qualifying highlights from previous seasons, as well as the current seasons, on YouTube, Netflix, and the F1 website and app. This was not the norm before Liberty took over. No highlights from any of the races or qualifying sessions were shown. Just a few years ago, the concept of television cameras having close access to teams and drivers in the paddock throughout the Grand Prix season would have been laughable. However, the Netflix series Drive to Survive has been a great smash, especially among younger viewers, and is credited for attracting new fans to the sport. The show has proven to be successful in showing the human side of Formula One. However, of all the key changes made, the budget constraints and financial restrictions are the most and noteworthy. One of Ecclestone's primary criticisms was the sport's financial system, which he saw as a cycle of rich teams getting richer and smaller teams getting the short end of the stick. To him, it was just a way to encourage teams to strive for success rather than settle for mediocrity on the grid and receive their share of television income. Liberty Media's solution was the new financial regulations, something known as the budget cap, which for the first time banned teams from spending more than a set level in order to help establish greater balance in the sport and lower operational expenses for all participants. While the team does not cover everything, marketing expenses, driver and team boss wages are just a few examples, it will be reduced to $140 million this season, with additional reductions envisaged. It's early days for the new financial frontier in F1, and its influence on racing and the health of all 10 teams is unknown, but the fact that it exists at all is a significant shift from Ecclestone's dogma. Okay, now this is one point where fans appear to be split: the American focus. To begin with, there is little doubt that having an American audience would benefit the sport, but the majority of fans are not lovers of Liberty Media catering to the relatively small American fan base. What is the issue here? Well, it spoils the experience that many fans have come to expect, such as Asians and Australians who wish to watch the race. They are required to stay up later, but that's only from a few fans, and given the success of the Miami race, it'll undoubtedly be a bonus. Liberty Media has made a lot of changes in the short time they've been in power, and there's no doubt that they've done a lot for the sport, but one thing we hope they remember is that the cars and drivers remain the stars. If you want to jump further into this topic, then check out this video on Drive to Survive's influence on the sport, and as always, have a great day.